Hi Heidi, I've worked hard on becoming free of family influences for many years. I've moved far away. I hardly have any contact, and I definitely raised my children in a totally different way than I was treated as a child. And still, the other day, it dawned on me that on a very subtle subconscious level, there are still chords, especially with my father, that run very deep and that are just now coming to light. These patterns are very hard to detect. For me, it's as though I can only get a little glimpse and the insight is gone. Is this because I'm part of the family structure myself and thus don't have as much insight as an outsider? Or is there a way of accessing these patterns, even though they are hard to detect? Okay, so this is a classic one, or what's a classic indication of, in my view, of someone who having done a lot of inner work, because then these sort of more subtle aspects become more apparent. Because really what it's all about is freeing yourself of obligations, energetic obligations that have been created through decades, centuries even, that aren't necessarily relevant in the here and now. And bearing in mind that we are at a stage in history where the here and now is very different to anything that has ever gone before. And all of this here and now it's very fast. It's very fast moving. If you think about it, in kind of previous centuries, things moved at a much more leisurely pace. But the transformation and the change that we have experienced, even in our lifetime, is something that's really quite incredible. So it becomes more and more relevant for a lot of this unconscious conditioning that is part of our history, part of the history that's been passed through for many, many generations, becomes increasingly irrelevant and something that holds you back in the here and now. So I think the way we're going to ask this question, which we're going to have a look in terms of reframing this question, is what is it that Silke is trying to reveal? Her unconscious is trying to reveal as far as her father's energy is concerned. What is it? What is the, and it will be, when it shows up as father type of relationships, it's normally to do with obedience and control and those kind of things, normally those sort of areas that show up as questions around obedience. So let's have a look, see if I'm right. Let's have a look and see what it is that's tucked away in Silke's psyche, in her unconscious, that wants to reveal itself as far as father patterns are concerned. So let's have a look. What wants to reveal itself as far as Silke's father patterns are concerned? Okay, so deck wants to split. Let's have a little look. This is really interesting. Okay, so what we have here, I'll talk through these very quickly. We've got the Eight of Swords here, which is, this one is normally associated with quite dark aspects, quite often depressive type symptoms, especially if it's mixed with this, which is the devil. You put those two together. So what it wants to reveal is that Silke's unconscious as a child, because it's showing for sure as Silke, because it's looking at her as the high priestess in the here and now, and then it's looking at her as the child energy, as the Page of Pentacles, which is, as a child, what Silke would have experienced was that there was this sort of undertone or feeling that a father had dark moods or dark way or very negative ways of seeing things that were not really owned. So it was never really in that space of saying, well, yes, I do tend to see things in quite a dark and negative way. Rather, so there wasn't this contrast. It was just, she had this sort of feeling that they were expressed in a dark way. But because that was never owned by a father, in terms of his expression, never sort of said, oh yes, I do tend, I do look on the dark side rather than on the bright side, that kind of ownership of that. She has doubted her own instincts, her own intuition, shown as the high priestess, throughout her adult life. And so what this is, it's about acknowledging what she thought in terms of his darkness, in terms of his negativity or the way he sees things, and that aspect of it that wasn't owned. To then think to herself, actually, what I saw or what I believed was true. I can own that, so therefore I can own my own instinctive and intuitive ways of looking at things right now. Yes, because as soon as she does, comes into this Queen of Pentacles, which is a much more secure feeling. Yes, it's a much more secure feeling. And it's, and then it's an indication of the end, the Death card there, of delays. So where in any parts of your life where you felt that things have been delayed or put on hold, this is the energy behind it. It's that subtle self-doubt, because what you saw, you weren't sure whether it was so or not, because it was never owned by the adults in charge. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if Silke's on. Okay, yes, she is. So this really resonates, Heidi. Yes, I had to carry what was projected onto me. And still he tries to project negativity on me. Okay. At the end of delays sounds perfect. I'm forever delayed in whatever I do. Yes. So apparently this way of looking at things, and to just acknowledge, bring that more up to the surface, is the key to ending that that sensation of everything's on hold. Nothing can quite materialize. It's this sort of feel of, well, maybe one day I'll get his permission. That's what the innocent, the child sees it as. And this is about the adult acknowledging that actually, no, you never will, grieving that aspect, because actually you don't need it. Okay. But it's that part of that moving it, making its way through. Okay, so hopefully that will make sense. Well, it looks like it does make sense.